The NBA season officially began with an incredible double overtime game between the Oklahoma City Thunder and Houston Rockets, but the Sacramento Kings and Phoenix Suns begin their season tomorrow night. And today we've got Locked On Kings and Locked On Suns coming together to preview that game. It's the Kings offense versus the Suns defense, and it's all right here for you on the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. Before we dive into this preview of the Kings and Suns game with my guy Ben from the Locked On Suns podcast, want to remind you that every single game, with the exception of a couple coming up in November, I got a family vacation coming up, but other than that, every single game, we will have a Locked On Kings podcast for you post-game. Sometimes you have to wait a couple of hours for that episode to come out with me wrapping up post-game responsibilities for ABC 10, or if I'm out at the arena recording inside the Golden One Center. But I want to emphasize, I take the time that I take to get that episode out, even if it's late at night, because I want to make sure I'm delivering the best show possible for you, not just turning on the camera and immediately starting to record and whatever comes out of my mouth type thing, right? I want to put together a good show for you. But just a reminder, if this is your first season with us here on Locked On Kings, make sure you tune in after every single Kings game, again, with the exception of a few in November. I'll talk about those later on for full recaps of those Kings games, including, of course, the Kings and the Suns in Phoenix tomorrow night. Let's look forward to that game. I am joined right now by Ben from the Locked On Suns podcast. Divisions don't matter much in the NBA, but if you were to ask who are the worst two teams in the Pacific Division, I think most people would say it's the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. Who will be at the bottom? We'll have to wait and see. Maybe both these teams, or at least one of these teams, can surprise some people, but they begin their campaigns against one another. The Kings heading down to Phoenix to take on the Suns. So you got Locked On Kings and Locked On Suns coming together for one last preview before actual NBA basketball starts. Ben, I don't know how long this offseason has been for you. I know there's been a tremendous amount of change in Phoenix. I think Sacramento Kings fans wanted more change than what there has been. But these are two teams that are looking at the rest of the Western Conference and going, maybe just try and compete, right? Am I right in assuming that's where the Suns are at? Or are they on like borderline full-on rebuild mode?
Well, first off, it's good to see you because we planned this out one time. Oh, you knew I was going to go there. We planned this out one time. You actually planned it out. Hey, Pacific Division guys, let's all get together and do a show. We'll preview it. And the only person that didn't show up, it felt oddly like fitting, was the Sacramento Kings and Matt George, who did not show up to the divisionals, which is good. Because I made sure to make it a point in that to go after the opposing teams. Like, I wanted to be a villain, and mission accomplished. So the Kings fans don't hate me yet. We'll see how they feel at the end of this. But like, the Suns are in a world where they have completely transformed their team. And I think, like, if we're just doing it in a matchup perspective, I think the Kings, if they feel like the Suns feel about the Kings, I think the same way the Kings feel about the Suns. All right. Not exactly a soft landing spot. It's still a Western Conference team. They made the play-in last year. You know, they have some players. Maybe we can start off 1-0. If the Kings beat the Suns, it's going to they just very might well beat them. They're going to feel the presence of the Suns. The Suns have changed their entire identity from we just are going to outscore you to we're going to push you around and suffocate you defensively and beat you 99-94, which, you know, for the younger audience, probably don't remember the times where at least the Suns were like this. You scored 99 points. You had 2 free tacos at Jack in the Box. Now every team scores 120. Like, that's what it's going to be. 99, 96, Phoenix wins. It's the only way most games are going to look like for the Suns this year to be a competitive team. What about you?
Well, what's funny is I think the way you're describing the Phoenix Suns is the way that Doug Christie wants the Sacramento Kings to play, just with a roster of offensively talented players who are not known for their defense. They have two really good defenders on the team. One of them isn't playing in Keegan Murray, and the Kings have absolutely no depth at Keegan Murray's position. Injuries are going to play a large part in this game too. We'll get into the injuries a little bit later on, but I love what you said about like both teams are looking at each other the same way, because Sacramento's looking at the start of their schedule and they see, okay, Phoenix and Utah, the first two games, man, you got to get those and be 2-0, because after that, man, the gauntlet comes through. And I don't know if you've seen the start of the season for the Kings. It's a rough first 20 games, Ben. So I agree. Both teams are kind of looking at each other as, okay, let's get started on the right foot. Only one team can win. But I think I will admit this. I think the Suns roster is better fit to the identity that they want than the Kings roster is fit to the identity that they want. I would argue maybe depth-wise or in terms of bodies, Sacramento's roster is probably more talented, although the best player on both these rosters is Devin Booker, in my opinion. But talent only can get you so far, and the Kings have always kind of been looked like at this as this island of misfit toys. How can Doug Christie now get adding Russell Westbrook into the fold? How can all of these names that were really, really good 4 or 5 years ago, how can they all work well together in Sacramento? It's going to be an interesting experiment, but I think the Kings have a lot to still figure out, even without the injuries. And the start of the season is not usually the best time to experiment. So I think the Suns will be able to take advantage of that.
You know, let me ask you this as well from a Suns perspective, because I think my audience would enjoy it. Just so we're clear, like, I did try to play the villain, the divisional preview. Like, now I'm just curious because like I was a 7 seconds or less Suns fan. For those that don't know, the Suns would literally try to get up a shot in the first 7 seconds of the game. They like revitalized the new generation of scoring in the NBA that I think, took storm for a really long time and is kind of, out of that phase. But like, I remember watching the Kings and being like, okay, like there's a win right there. And that's not me pointing at the Kings. Over the last couple seasons, that wasn't the case. Like, you had a lot of players that you were like, you felt really good about. And now, like, I just believe the Kings are just not going to make the playoffs or the play-in at all. And I think the Suns could be a play-in team this year. Is that just incredibly wrong to where the Kings are just, they're going to be a very viable team this year? Because forget this game as a whole. Like, this is a team I think the Suns are going to be like elbowing with all year to try to get that 9th, 10th play-in spot.
I think the vocal minority of Sacramento Kings fans, because remember, Twitter does not represent the entire fan base. Those who comment on these shows, as much as we love you guys, you're not representing of the entire fan base. But I would say the vocal minority of people would actually agree with you. I think there's just this feeling in Sacramento land. Like, this is the least excited I've seen a lot of fans about this Kings team. Not because of the names on the roster. It's crazy that you're going to be able to buy a Russell Westbrook jersey at the Kings team store next to a DeMar DeRozan jersey. You can put it in your closet next to Vince Carter and Zach Randolph, who people forget played for the Kings for a year, right? So it's cool to have these names on the roster, but that's what it just feels like. It just feels like names. And then when you forecast to the future of the Sacramento Kings, you're like, what does this season even matter? What is this season even for? So I think a lot of Kings fans would agree with you. I do think if like, talent wise on paper, the Kings are a team that I think the casual fan, if you saw them make the playoffs in the West, the casual fan would look at their roster and go, oh yeah, I recognize most of these names. It makes sense they're a playoff team. They're not going to do anything in the playoffs, but it makes sense that they're a playoff team. But those who actually watch this team every day know the shortcomings of how this team just does not seem to work together, or has not seemed to work together in the past. They tried it in Chicago with DeRozan and Levine. It didn't work. So Sacramento decided we'll give it a try over here. There's a lot of, I guess, cautious like pessimism, I suppose, with this Kings team going into this year. And with the exception of the final preseason game where the Kings beat the Los Angeles Lakers, there wasn't a lot from that preseason that made too many fans excited or feel better about the direction of this team, at least short term.
Yeah, man, that's the just complete opposite of like what it feels like for Phoenix. There was that cautious pessimism because like Brian Gregory, like you didn't even know who the guy was before the Suns hired him. You want to know how you know you don't know? You hired him as their general manager? Because I didn't know who the guy was. They hired Jordan Knott, who like I have heard of before, but like how many other teams were going to offer him a job? Like I don't know as their new head coach. I just would be curious because some Suns fans, I think like 45%, if I were to put a number on it, feel like woe is me. Like you heard Zach Lowe today say, or I think maybe 2 days ago, like I'd feel bad if I was a Suns fan, or I'd feel terrible about it. Bill Simmons is always going after the Suns, but sometimes I question how many games he actually watches, even for Boston on its own. But would you rather be like, again, bias aside, throw it, you're a new fan. You have to pick between the Suns and the Kings. Who do you think has the brighter future and who you'd rather be a fan of?
So that's an interesting question. And so are we talking a like new to the NBA fan or a knowledgeable NBA fan?
They're knowledgeable. Their favorite player just retired and they're like, okay, I'm going to join a team now. Who would you rather join?
So the reason why I say a knowledgeable fan is because you have to look at the draft pick situation, and the Sacramento Kings have a future in terms of draft compensation. I know the Phoenix Suns feel like they don't. Hey, credit to the Suns. They went for it. They tried something. It blew up in their face, but they went for it. And there are a lot of Sacramento Kings fans that were asking for the Kings to go for it to some extent when after the Beam Team year, that Beam Team 1 year, and the Kings pretty much sat on their hands and withered away into nothing. And now all those vibes are gone. But I would think in terms of future, Sacramento does have a brighter future just because they have the draft assets that they might not use in the draft, but they could use in future trades and things like that. If I'm looking at both these rosters and going, who's the most intriguing player to follow and pay attention to, it's Devin Booker. And the Kings fans know Devin Booker very well because Booker has hit, it feels like half of Devin Booker's game winners and big shots in his career come against the Sacramento Kings for some reason. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and bang, you are in the game. It's super quick. You can make your lineups in under a minute right before a game starts, so you have all the information that you need. The best part, Prize Picks just added stacks, so if you want to ride with one player in particular, you can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So if you're a Christian McCaffrey fan with the San Francisco 49ers, take rushing touchdowns, receptions, and receiving yards, right? It's a new and very exciting way to play. Plus, there's the injury reboot feature. This is how you know Prize Picks is legit and cares about you. If your player leaves early and doesn't return, it won't count against you. Prize Picks doesn't want to cheese their way to a victory. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Locked On Kings is also brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, right? Anybody? Do you like paying rent? No. But if you must pay it, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your entire neighborhood. With Built, your rent finally works for you. I'm talking earning points every month for something that you already have to pay. You're going to pay it anyway. Might as well get something out of it. Built has made everyday life feel more rewarding, from your neighborhood to your travel plans and beyond. Turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use the link so they know that we sent you. But that's where I'll kind of turn this back around on you, because if I'm Devin Booker, I'm looking around and going, okay, new direction, kind of a reset. Durant's gone. Bradley Beal's gone, although I wouldn't really say Bradley Beal was ever really there, but he's now off the roster. There is talent with Green and Dylan Brooks. If I'm like, how do you think Devin Booker is looking at this Suns situation? Because I think a lot of the outside perspective, you talk about the Zach Lowe's, the Bill Simmons, the national media is looking at it and going, oh, Bradley Beal's going to want out in a couple of years. It's like what they talk about with Giannis in Milwaukee. It's only a matter of time before he wants out. Do you think that's the case with Devin Booker? Because in Sacramento, not that the Kings are really keeping track of Devin Booker, but Sacramento has this roster of guys that they're waiting for their super expensive contracts to expire. So who cares if they want out? The Kings are just trying to get them off the books eventually.
If it feels like if they were going to trade Devin Booker, they would have already done it by now. And I think part of that has to do with Devin Booker. I don't like, people are like, oh, we just idolize this Kobe. Like, no. I think, yes, Devin Booker wants to be the Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, stays with their team their entire career and is immortalized in Phoenix forever. Like, I do think that plays a role, but also like with the new CBA, you're telling me I could make $75 million a year if I just stay with my team. And that's what happened. And so, like, say Devin Booker wants out next year. Let's say like they're like, oh, the Kings are willing to give up everything. So what? He's got like 4 years left on his contract. He's got no leg to stand on. Now, do you want a disgruntled star? No, but it would have to get really ugly. And I don't think Booker's willing to do that. And here's the reason why, like, if we're flipping the question on it, why I'd rather pick to be a Suns fan. This is no bias against, like, seriously isn't. No one goes after these teams more than I am. No one is more critical of these teams more than I am. Matt Ishbia, he used to say hi to me all the time. Now I don't get a lot of highs from Matt Ishbia anymore because I've went after him numerous times. I go off of history, and yes, the Suns have no championships, but they're like the Minnesota Vikings. They win a lot of games. They've been to a couple of NBA finals. I just look at the history and I'm like, I'll trust the Kings when they show me they should be trusted. Sure. And it's no shot at them. I think Sacramento's got a really good fan base because they got one team up there that they're rooting for and that everyone collectively puts their arms around, kind of similar to Portland, except, Sacramento's, massive. I would rather be in Phoenix because I always do have a eject button right in front of me. Hey, listen, we want to get picks. Hit the eject button. Someone's going to give me 5 first-round picks and a bunch of pick swaps for a 29-year-old or 30-year-old Devin Booker next year. Let's see if it works. I like what they did this year. The Kevin Durant trade looks better now. It's still, you didn't win the trade. The team that got the best player won the trade, but it looks better. And I see the vision. It looks like instead of microwaving success, they have finally decided, all right, let's put this thing in the crock pot. Let's throw some spices in there, and over time, let's see if we got ourselves a meal and see what this kind of new version of the Suns look like. But also, like, why would they trade him? Like, you're going to get because they don't have any of their own picks. Okay, let's tank. You still have, let's say it's the Sacramento Kings picks, and if they add Devin Booker, guess what? It's going to be like the 25th overall pick for 4 or 5 straight seasons. Like, so that's where I would go with that, man.
Let's lock in on this first game. The Suns are a slight favorite in this game. I think a large reason for that is the injuries that the Sacramento Kings are dealing with. 2 of their starters are out. Domantas Sabonis is out. Keegan Murray is out. And we learned today at practice that Dennis Schroeder was not a participant at practice and might have tweaked his ankle a little bit in the final Kings preseason game against the LA Clippers. So that's potentially, Lakers. That's potentially a 3 guys in your starting lineup that are not available. So injuries, I do think will play a factor in this game, but I'm curious based off of like reading the temperature of the Suns and Suns fans. Let's say Schroeder is playing, but those other 2 starters are out. No Domantas Sabonis, no Keegan Murray. 2 very important pieces, obviously, to the Kings. If the Suns lose to this version of the Kings, the hurt version of the Kings, not the fully healthy version of the Kings, I'm not saying hit panic button after day 1, but what is the temperature in Phoenix if they lose to a battered Kings team game 1?
it will immediately skyrocket from right now. I think it's like a cool 4 because there are clear concerns in Phoenix. It'll skyrocket to an 8. Like, I think in both instances, Phoenix and Sacramento, like, bear with me here, Kings fans, and you know, Suns fans kind of know where I can go with these things. This is kind of a must win. Golden State, not Golden State, I guess that's years ago, but like the Denver Nuggets can afford to lose to the Kings because we know they're going to win 50 games this year.
Sure.
You've got a lot of scheduled losses on this Suns schedule, and I'm sure on the Kings schedule. They're not going to beat, you know, Denver 4 times or whatever, 3 times this year. They might catch them off guard once, but they're going to lose to them the rest of the times, and they might get swept by Oklahoma City. Like, you need to get the W's on your schedule, like the Charlottes, you know, the Eastern Conference and the Wizards, and you need to get these coin flip games because the ones you know you're going to lose are just scheduled losses. So this Suns team that we've been gassing up, myself and a lot of people in the media, and I think the Suns as a whole, have to show right away, boom, look at our clear direction. We showed up, and yeah, we scored 103 points, but we held the Kings to 85 points. Like, that's where it has to be here in Phoenix. And so I would kind of flip it around, like, for the Kings. If they win this game, right, it kind of feels like, okay, I bought myself another couple of days for Domantas Sabonis. He can actually miss the next game, right? Doesn't it feel that way? Whereas right now you're like, God, I really wish we had him for this game.
Yeah, if you start 0-1 against Phoenix, which is very possible, even if the Kings were healthy, I think it's very possible. But these are 2 games to start the season that the Kings fans do feel like, oh, these are gettable. You got to get them with the schedule that's coming up. But what it does is you lose this game, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on that home opener against the Utah Jazz on Friday. Because in theory, like, on paper, the Jazz are terrible. They're supposed to be a bad team, but they have Lauri Markkanen, who's capable of going off on any given night. And the Kings, without Domantas Sabonis, will be facing a Jazz team that has no Yusuf Nurkic, that does have Yusuf Nurkic and has Walker Kessler. So they've got, if the Jazz have anything, it's depth at the center position. So I think the Kings are also looking at the Phoenix Suns and going, okay, the center position is one of the weaknesses of the Suns. This is a game that in theory you can get away with not having Domantas Sabonis. But if you can't win these games without Domas, how the heck do you expect to win other games against much more difficult competition beyond that? So again, the Kings fans and Suns fans, I feel like are feeling in very similar ways about this first game and the significance of just getting the season that we both expect to be a roller coaster with probably more downs than ups. Find a way to just get off to a good start to climb right away, build a little momentum of yourselves for yourselves to at least give you a game or 2 to remember fondly when you're going through the dark times. Because both these teams are going to face it. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I don't have the Suns schedule right out in front of me, but they've got a couple of brutal stretches, if I'm not mistaken. Right away to start the season, they've got like it's kind of similar to like where the Kings are, where they've got like, and they're going to go on a roadie right away. They've got this first home game, but they're going on a roadie against the Clippers, the Nuggets. Like, it just feel like a couple of losses. Bradley Beal's revenge game, you know, if he actually shows up and actually plays in the game. And then you got the Jazz on the road as well, and then you come back home, and then it lightens up a little bit. But like, you need to get your wins where you can get them, and that's just what it is for the Suns team. They got to start off like. I don't want to talk about in the first 30 games, the Suns are already 10 games under 500. I think it's very possible they're an under 5. I think it's more likely than not that they're an under 500 team this year, but they got to stay within that 38, 39 win range. And I think it's possible. But overall, like, at the end of the day, man, it comes down to winning these games. Like, I've kind of told you what the Suns have transformed themselves into. They're going to be, Devin Booker, T-Mac, save me. I don't know if you remember that commercial from back in the day, but Book, like, offensively, save us. Defensively, we're going to push you around. We got Brooks, we got Rasheer Fleming, we've got Ryan Dunn. Like, it's going to be hard to score points against the Suns, especially without one of your better shot creators, or not shot creators, but bucket getters in Domantas Sabonis.
This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or happens to everybody sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start actually making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. We're talking no waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rugiet, spelled RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves.
What are the Kings going to pride themselves on this season so that Suns fans can kind of be like acclimated to it, not surprised to it come Wednesday?
Yeah. So what Doug Christie wants and what this roster should be, those are two different, I think, questions. And what Doug Christie wants is he wants a team that plays super hard with 100% effort on every play. Pick the term that was consistent throughout training camp and preseason was pick up 94 feet, right? Like, which is not just defending full court, but it's a term for like you're playing hard every play. That's kind of the identity that Doug Christie and the culture that Doug Christie and new general manager Scott Perry are trying to build here in Sacramento. In fact, that's what they've said this season is all about. Wins and losses, great. And of course they want to win and make the playoffs, but this year is about establishing a culture. And that culture, while it sounds great on paper, you go through this roster and go, not sure. That guy fits. Like that's essentially where I think this roster is. So, I mean, offensively, this team has so many weapons, but how can the weapons work together and be cohesive? To me, Zach LaVine has to be the head of the snake offensively for Sacramento. And he had an amazing shooting season last year in terms of his numbers. Shot great in preseason too. So that's encouraging. If the game's close, you know who the ball's going to. It's DeMar DeRozan down in clutch time, down the stretch. He's the closer. He's going to be the guy that's going mano-a-mano with probably Dylan Brooks if this game is close over the final few minutes to see if he can win the Kings the game. Other than that, the Kings want to be a team that spaces the floor, knocks down threes, but here's the problem. They're loaded with guys that are in the low 30s 3-point percentage-wise. Like, this is a Kings team that is going to put up a lot of threes, and if the preseason is any indication, they're going to miss a lot of threes. So, like, that's something that every team can exploit, not to mention on the defensive side of the ball, the Kings are terrible at defending the three. Every team seems to shoot great against Sacramento. So look for Grayson Allen to have like a 30-point night with 10 made threes because it's just the Kings will give up open looks. So I don't know if that answers your question, but essentially the Kings want to be this team that's known for hustle and energy and punching first and all this, but they have a roster of guys that are vets and known for the offensive side of the ball. They do want to play fast too. They do want to get up and down. So I think the Kings would prefer to score before the defense can get set for Phoenix. But in order to push and transition, you have to create stops. That's the problem, the creating stops part here in Sacramento.
Well, yeah, man. This is why it's, from an outside perspective looking in, that feels very troublesome to lay a foundation for this Kings team. Like, if I wanted to buy that, like the Suns' new identity and the way they're going about things, and I won't bore you with all the details, it might not work, but I see the vision. Like they went out and they went and got a bunch of 6'9" guys with like, 7'2", 6'10", 7-foot wingspans. And they said, listen, some of these guys can't shoot. Nigel Hayes, like, I've been on it for a while now. Like, I don't know if that guy's ever going to be able to shoot in the pros, or, Rasheer Fleming, he's a rookie, but like, we know what we are. We're going to play stifling defense. We've got the bodies to throw at any other team. Boston Celtics style to Luka Doncic years ago in the finals. The Kings are building a culture, kind of sounds like what the Suns are trying to do, but doing it by putting a square peg in a round hole. I guess did I just crack the Kings season with you right now?
No, I mean, that's again,
how do you do that?
The fan base, that's the way a lot of the fan base feels. And we're at the point where you're like, you can see the vision, right? In Sacramento, we hear the vision. And it sounds great, but we'll believe it when we see it. Like that's where the Kings are at. Show me that this is even possible. Show me more than just a flash. Show me 2 quarters of playing this way. Even if you lose the game, show me you're capable of doing it before I'll really believe that you can get there. Because right now it's like, I don't even know if you can do that for half a game, let alone a whole game with this roster. Ben, we'll wrap up with this. I kind of shared with you there. I was a double agent for my own team of sharing. Like, this is how you beat the Kings. You beat them by hitting threes and basically being physical with them, taking them out of their game. Put on your double agent hat or your disguise. How do the Sacramento Kings beat the Phoenix Suns tomorrow?
It's so easy. Like, it's easy what it is. It's hard to do because this player is awesome. But like, I see the offensive firepower. Zach LaVine, I have my worries about, like, can he be a winning player? Like, DeMar DeRozan, is he maybe a little over the hill a little bit?
Sure.
Both those guys can shoot the basketball. You got a couple, like Dennis Schroeder can, get buckets, at times.
Sure.
Russell Westbrook can microwave 6 to 7 minutes of 8 points for you. Might be the only 8 points you get, but that's what Russell Westbrook does. This team has no offensive firepower. It's Devin Booker, and cross your fingers that Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks are hitting threes. Ryan Dunn, I'm very high on him. He's got to show an ability to shoot the ball. Mark Williams, he can be exposed defensively, and we'll see if he can translate from Charlotte, who has never won anything. Like, stop Devin Booker, limit Devin Booker, and I think maybe even that could come with, like, limit his playmaking. Let him get 30. Force someone else to join him in the party. Like, it was kind of like Nikola Jokic in 2021 where the Suns beat them in the playoffs. Like, Let him get his. Let's see if anyone else can do anything. Or blitz Devin Booker. Make him pass up the ball. Let's see if someone else can hit the ball. Like, they're going to be a good defensive team this year. I do think they're going to be a top 10 team defensively. Offensive-wise, they're going to get a lot of their points forcing turnovers and getting out in transition every night. Stop Devin Booker. Limit Devin Booker's playmaking. And the Kings could win this game by like 15 points.
So give me the number. If the Kings hit this number, they win. What is that point total?
If the Kings hit 105, I think they win. Like, is this going to be a team? Like, when Jalen Green comes back and he shows me he can be an efficient basketball player and fit alongside Devin Booker, then that can change. It can go up to 110, 112. But like, Matt, where are the shot creators? It's like, I don't know where they're at. It's Book and a whole lot of crossing your fingers until I see it. Whereas the Kings, like, they've got it. They've got a couple of guys that can get a bucket on a night in, night out basis. It's just going to be hard to stop them on the defensive end, but you don't really need to have an elite defense to keep this Suns team down. Like, Suns are going to win a lot of games this year, 103-100. Like, that's what it's going to look like.
Well, if it makes you and Suns fans feel any better, the Kings offense typically is your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. So it's not as hard. So
that's what it was last year.
Yeah, not as hard to defend
what it was last year
as
for
some
us.
might think. So we'll see. We'll see how this game goes. I'm curious for both these teams.
Who do you think? Why not? Kings are starting 0-1 or 1-0?
I guess I'm going to go 1-0 just because I think this team can score 105 points. If this Kings team can score 105 points, Ben, like, we're panicking. It's
going to be a good defense. So, the Suns team's going to be a good defense, man. And so I'll take Phoenix to win. I think they win like 1-0. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they win like 101-88. Like, I believe this team is going to be very good defensively. And also, like, let's poke at the Kings fan base just a little bit before I go.
If the Kings score 88 points, the city of Sacramento might burn down, truth be told. But they're probably shooting like 25% if that's the case. It's very possible. Ben, good luck in the game. Good luck in the season. I'm sure we'll do this again soon. See you in the play-in. I don't know.
Hey, I was going to say, hey, man, I'll see you at the draft lottery.
Yeah, sure.